For you guys who've been watching Life 2.0 for a while, you know that divorce has been one of the best things that ever happened to me in my life. I'd recommend it for everyone, except that you got to get married first. That's a problem. But just like the day needs the night and the summer needs the winter, sometimes it's the contrast that makes the difference. You know that first day the sun comes out after a long cold winter and you feel the warmth of it on your face. That's kind of what it's like when you get a divorce. After that long cold winter of feeling alienated, frozen out, losing track of who you truly are, not able to live your life authentically, lacking freedom, well, the warmth of divorce can feel like a salvation, like a refuge. But I think you can have that without ever having to get married, much less divorced. And that's what I want to talk about with you guys today. This is Life 2.0. Let's talk about it. Now, my Life 2.0 was about more than just divorce. It was a complete wiping of the slate. I quit my job, changed career, started a business, moved, got a divorce, moved again, started another business. So from the ages of 54 to 60, as of yesterday, I am 60 years old, my life has made a complete transition. There's an old saying that you don't know what you've got until it's gone. And if you had told me that 10 years ago, I would have been thinking, I need to appreciate what I have in my marriage and in my job and all that stuff. Well, today, I have a completely different perspective on that. I still believe it's true. But the thing that we've got is not something that we've acquired during life. It's something that we were born with. And that's freedom, authenticity, autonomy, those things that define you as a human being, as a man. They're not things that you do. They're not things that you become. They are who you are. And when you give those things up, yeah, you really notice it. Since I started making videos about relationships, I've taken you through every stage, from dating to engagement to marriage destruction to divorce recovery, to the whole thing. When I'm talking about each of these issues, I kind of have to play a mental game with myself and take myself back in time to those experiences and what they were like, to fully immerse myself in that experience. And so when I talk about some of the more difficult things, like, you know, when your marriage starts falling apart, or going through the divorce and those initial stages of divorce recovery, it can sometimes come off like I've got this unresolved bitterness, this anger toward my ex-wife or toward women in general. And that could not be further from the truth. I feel like in order to be an authentic conveyor of this information, I need to put myself back in that place psychologically. I need to feel what that was like again, to relive that emotional upheaval, to go through that experience. Because I feel like only through that process can I really reach out and communicate directly with people who are experiencing it in the here and now. Because they identify with what I'm saying, and they know the truth of it because they can feel the raw emotion. That being said, where I'm at now, 6 years post-split, so it's been 5 years since the divorce, 6 years since she left. Not only am I living a life that I only could have dreamt of a decade ago, and I'm happier than I've ever been in my life, but the insights that I've been getting since this split, especially over the last couple of years, have really been the thing that shocked me the most. My understanding of life and relationships and how everything fits together has just seemed to feel so much more, I don't know, it just seems to come to me so easily. Like everything just seems so transparent all of a sudden. Like I can suddenly see through to the core of so many things that I thought were complex and opaque in the past. And I believe that comes from finally coming in touch with who my authentic self is and coming to terms with what it's like to be me in this experience, in this life, and to really appreciate myself and what I bring to the table and what I have to offer the world, and to see more clearly what I get from others, you know, what value they bring to me in my life. I think what I'm talking about here is an awareness, a level of consciousness that I did not experience in the past. With relationships in particular, dating for me isn't on the table for the most part, not because I'm damaged or because I don't want to have a woman in my life or anything like that, but because when it comes to relationships, it's hard to unsee what you've seen. It's hard to go back into playing these games based on role-playing and facades and transactional relationships once you have come to terms with the vacuousness of it, the emptiness of it, the lack of integrity that it comes from, you know, and submitting myself to that kind of dating energy just doesn't feel authentic anymore, you know? Like going into a relationship with the intention of, you know, impressing a woman or trying to win her favor or any of that stuff, yeah, that just doesn't feel like who I am. That's just not what I want to do. I just can't see myself going through that process again. I don't want to compromise with my own authenticity, with my own freedom, with my own sense of autonomy in the way I run my life to impress some woman who has some twisted preconceived idea about the way relationships are supposed to be and the roles that they play in her life. You know, I don't want to get caught into this role-playing game, you know? I mean, if you've got someone who is a truly authentic person in and of their own right, and they are bringing that same attitude to the table, well then maybe there's an opportunity. But for the most part, most women these days, you know, they have a game plan. They have roles that they want to play. They have transactions that need to occur. You know, they are emotionally unstable. They don't know who they are in their own lives. They're not comfortable in their own skin. They're constantly seeking for validation externally. And quite frankly, I just don't have time for those people in my life. I just don't. You know, if you're carrying forward a bunch of trauma in your life that you have unresolved, I don't need that burden on me, quite honestly. I'm not here to fix you. You know what I mean? I don't want to fix somebody. I'm not in the fixing people game anymore. I'm out of that game. So, Life 2.0 and coming to my own authenticity and understanding of my own life and what I want for myself has also made it very clear what I don't want, you know? And it's not even just a matter of want, it's a matter of I'm unable to even consider it. Like that would be giving up my authenticity if I submitted myself to a relationship like that. Does that make sense? Because I just can't feel, even with all the sexual desire in the world, I cannot find within me the trigger that would allow me to submit myself to another woman in that way. And I will never do it. If I ever get into a relationship with another woman, it'll be someone who has a similar view of relationships, you know, who is not looking for anything from me, except for my company, you know? It's just a pure, even exchange. My time for your time. That's all I got. That's all I got. And that's all I'm giving. That's all I'm promising. And I think that's the unexpected insight that I've taken away from my divorce and what has emerged from me during this Life 2.0. So yesterday was my birthday, and I can truly say I have nothing that I want, and I was able to tell everybody that, clear conscience, like, yeah, I really don't have a need for anything. I really don't want anything. And so what my kids did is they each wrote me a birthday card, independent of one another. They didn't tell me what they were writing or tell each other what they were writing. And each of what they wrote inside those cards, each of them wrote a couple paragraphs to me about the impact that I've had on their lives over these last, over their entire lives, but in particular since the divorce. And it was the most touching and loving and thoughtful and, tear-drawing kind of stuff that a father could read coming from their children, And then there was that aha moment where it's like, when it comes to love and loving relationships, and I've talked about this a little bit in the past, but the thing that people don't get with love is that the only way for love to work in any kind of relationship is if it's unconditional. And that is an extremely difficult concept to apply to modern dating or to transactional relationships, because it is exactly the opposite of that. An unconditional loving relationship means that you are giving for the benefit of the other person without any expectation of anything in return. One of the wonderful things about children, even adult children, I think my youngest, he's 21, and my oldest is 35, is that there's very little that they can give to me other than their love. Like, that's really all they can give that has meaning to me. None of them make enough money. Well, my son makes a lot of money. I guess he could buy me a car and I'd appreciate that, but I'm just kidding. But there's nothing else that I need or want in my life except for their love and respect. And I can't demand that. I can't take that from them, But in giving my love to them and then having it reciprocated in such a genuine way and expressed so poignantly in those cards, that is the single most fulfilling experience you can have on this planet, because you are having an impact. I am having an impact on their lives, and that will carry over to their children's lives, and hopefully that'll carry over to another generation. That the legacy I'm leaving is not some giant pile of money, it's not some statue or some inscription, none of that. It's the memory of the time that we spent here together. Because it's in that time, in that moment, in those moments where the greatest love is expressed, that the greatest impact is made. The legacy is created in that unconditional love. So when it comes to dating, or relationships with women, I would suggest that if you're going to consider looking for that after you've entered into Life 2.0, that you move the bar up a bit and you stop thinking about relationships in transactional nature and you start seeing love as an unconditional experience. And if you come across someone that you have those feelings for, that unconditional nature, that desire to see that they are taken care of, that you love them from that unconditional place, then love them unconditionally without any expectation of anything in return. It is not an easy thing to do. With children, it comes much more easily. It's much easier to give to your children because that's the way the energy flows, from one generation to the next. But when it comes to a romantic relationship, if you can create that same energy, that same unconditional love, and you can have that sensation of you're not playing roles, you're not in this thing to transact any energy, you're not trying to have an exchange, sex for money or whatever, resources. You get away from all that bullshit and you're just coming at it from that purely raw human, this is just you and me together, and you can stay for as long as you want and you can leave whenever you want, and we're going to share this experience and we'll both give what we can and we'll both enjoy it for as long as it lasts. And you have that kind of attitude towards a relationship, I think that you can probably move beyond all of the garbage, all of the baggage, all of the negative energy that has accumulated in your life from your divorce, from your negative relationships. And you can find a space where you can see how easy it is to forgive not only those people who caused you harm, you know, your ex-wife, or you know, your best friend who fooled around with your ex-wife, or whoever, but you can also find space to forgive yourself for allowing that energy in your life. And that's probably the hardest thing for most guys, is to actually come to terms with, yeah, I played a role in this. I brought this woman into my life. I created this mess. And at some level, you've got to take responsibility for it. And then on the other hand, you've got to forgive yourself for it completely. All right, you guys, that's all I got for you today. I certainly hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please like and subscribe. If you know someone who might benefit from hearing it, please share it with them. In the meantime, stay healthy, and if you can, stay single.